Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of English Over Tea, Listen and Speak. I'm Anna, and well, as usual, I'm joined by the guy who somehow always forgets to bring his own tea. It's Dan.
Hey, that's not... Okay, fine, it's true. I'm a tea thief. But in my defense, Anna, your Earl Grey always smells better than mine. It's a compliment, really. Anyway, hi everyone. So glad you're tuning in today. Whether you're at home, on a bus, or maybe even sipping coffee in a cafe, you are about to take a big step in your English journey.
Well, I'll let you off the hook this time, Dan, but only because it's March, and honestly, I'm in such a good mood. Though, okay, wait, I say I'm in a good mood, but I actually had a bit of a disaster this morning. You know how the sun was out at 8 a.m.?
Oh, I know where this is going. You saw the sunshine and thought it was July, didn't you?
I did. I really did. I saw those tiny little yellow flowers, the daffodils, starting to peek out in my garden, and I got so excited. I thought, spring is here. Goodbye, winter coat. So I put on this thin, light denim jacket and headed to the grocery store. Big mistake. Huge.
No, let me guess. 10 minutes later, you were shivering?
Shivering. Dan, I was practically a human popsicle. The wind started blowing and it was still so chilly. You know that feeling where it's not freezing, but it's definitely cool enough that you need a real coat. My nose turned bright red. People were looking at me like I was crazy.
Well, don't feel too bad. I had my own March moment yesterday. I decided to wear my brand new white sneakers. I've been waiting all winter to wear them. I looked in the mirror and thought, Dan, you look sharp. But I forgot that when the snow melts, the ground doesn't just get wet, it gets muddy.
Oh no, not the white sneakers.
Yes, I stepped off the sidewalk to let a lady with a stroller pass and squelch straight into a deep brown sticky puddle of mud. My white shoes are now, well, they're earth-toned now. Let's put it that way.
That is so typical for this month. And that's exactly why we're talking about it today. Our topic for this episode is talking about March in English. It's such an important topic because March is, well, it's like a bridge, right? It's the bridge between the end of winter and the start of spring.
Exactly. It's a transition month. A transition is a word we use when something is changing from one thing to another. And because things are changing so fast, the conversations we have in English this month are really specific. Whether you're talking about the weather, your clothes, or even history, March gives us so much to talk about.
It really does. So, to our listeners out there, we want to ask you, how was the weather in March where you live? Is it already warm and sunny, or are you still wearing your winter boots? Think about that while we dive in.
You know, Anna, before we get into the heavy vocabulary, I was reading some of the sources for today's show, and I found something crazy. Did you know that March wasn't always the third month of the year?
Wait, really? Was it the second?
No, it was the first. In the old Roman calendar, the year actually started in March. They only had 10 months back then. January and February didn't even have names. They were just called, well, winter.
That makes so much sense. Winter is so long and gray, the Romans just decided to ignore it. Let's just wait until March to start the year. I love that.
Right? And the name March actually comes from Mars, the Roman god of war. They picked that because March was the time of year when the weather finally got warm enough for armies to, well, march into battle.
Wow, so it's a month of action, but today it's more about the battle with our wardrobes, like my denim jacket disaster. That brings us to our first real key phrase for today. Have you ever heard people say that March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb?
Oh, I love that one. It's a classic. But for our learners, Anna, what does a lion have to do with a calendar?
Well, it's a metaphor. A lion is loud, strong, and sometimes scary, right? So when we say March comes in like a lion, we mean the beginning of the month is often wild, cold, and stormy. But a lamb, a baby sheep, is gentle and quiet. So by the end of the month, the weather is usually much calmer and warmer.
That is so true. It describes that unpredictable nature of the month perfectly. Unpredictable, that's a big word, but it just means you can't guess what'll happen next, like my sneakers. One minute it was sunny, the next mud.
Exactly. You could say, the weather in March is so unpredictable, I never know if I need an umbrella or sunglasses.
Or both, usually both. Okay, so we've got unpredictable and our lion and lamb expression. I think we're off to a great start. But Anna, I'm still thinking about your red nose this morning. We should probably talk about that not too cold but not hot weather.
Yes, we call that mild. Mild weather is just comfortable. It's that sweet spot in the middle. You might say, it's a very mild afternoon, so let's go for a walk in the park.
I love mild days. They're perfect for, for not getting mud on your shoes, hopefully. But wait, we've used a lot of words already. Let's pause for a second. We've talked about sunshine, daffodils being chilly, the ground being muddy, things being unpredictable, and the weather being mild.
It's a lot, but don't worry, listeners. We're going to use these words throughout the whole episode so you can really hear how they fit into natural conversation. Dan, speaking of natural, I think it's time for our first little real life situation.
Oh, a role play. I'm ready. I'll be the guy who is, let's say, very confused by the weather.
So, just yourself then.
Hey. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. I'm ready to show off my acting skills.
All right, listeners, here's a quick role play. Dan is leaving his house in mid March, and I'm his neighbor who, well, I actually checked the weather forecast.
Morning, Anna. Beautiful day, isn't it? I'm heading to the cafe to get some work done.
Morning, Dan. It is beautiful, but wait, are you are you really wearing a thick wool sweater and a heavy winter coat? It's almost 10 degrees Celsius.
Well, yeah, it was freezing when I woke up. I had to scrape frost off my car window.
Dan, it's going to be 15 degrees Celsius by noon. You're going to be sweating like you're in a sauna.
Oh man, really? But if I take the coat off now, I'll catch a cold. The wind is still, what was that word we used? Chilly.
Exactly. That's why you have to wear layers.
Layers? Like an onion?
Yes, exactly like an onion. Layers means wearing several pieces of clothing on top of each other. Instead of one giant coat, you wear a t-shirt, then a light sweater, and maybe a windbreaker on top. That way, when it gets warm, you just take one layer off.
Ah, that makes so much sense. So a windbreaker, that's like a very light jacket, right?
Exactly. It protects you from the wind, but it's not heavy. It's perfect for the unpredictable weather we have right now.
Okay, I think I learned my lesson. I need to stop dressing like I'm going to the North Pole when it's actually a mild afternoon. But Anna, you mentioned the frost this morning. It really does feel like March is a bit of a trickster. One minute it's winter, the next it's spring.
It really is. And did you know there are actually two different starts to spring in March?
Wait, how can there be two? Is one of them a secret?
Not exactly. Meteorologists, the weather scientists, say spring starts on March 1st. They like to keep things simple with whole months. But then there's the astronomical spring, which is the vernal equinox. That usually happens around March 20th or 21st.
Oh, I've heard that word before. Equinox. It sounds very fancy. What does it actually mean for us normal people?
It's actually really cool. On the day of the equinox, the sun is directly over the equator. This means the day and night are almost exactly the same length, about 12 hours each. After that day, the days start getting longer than the nights in the northern hemisphere.
I love that. I'm a big fan of long evenings. It's so much better when you leave work and the sun is still out, right? It gives you so much more energy.
It really does. But that change in time brings us to another big March thing that happens in places like the US and Canada: daylight saving time.
Ugh, don't remind me. That's the weekend where we spring forward and move our clocks 1 hour ahead.
Exactly. You lose an hour of sleep, which is, well, it's pretty rough. But did you know there's actually a holiday the day after it starts?
A holiday for losing sleep? Is it National Grumpy Day?
Close. It's actually National Napping Day in the United States.
No way. A whole day dedicated to taking a nap.
Yes, a nap is just a short sleep during the day. Because everyone is so tired from losing that hour of sleep, they officially encourage you to catch up on some rest. I think we should start celebrating that everywhere, don't you?
Oh, I'm 100% on board with that. Sorry, I can't come to the meeting. It's National Napping Day. It's for my health. But seriously, March is just full of these weird little quirks. Like, I was looking at the sources earlier and I saw something about a blue moon.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one for our learners. A blue moon doesn't actually mean the moon turns blue. It's a term we use when a full moon happens twice in the same month.
That's so rare, though, right?
It is. That's why we have the expression once in a blue moon. It means something happens very, very rarely. Like, like Dan actually paying for his own tea.
Hey, I paid for it once in a blue moon. Okay, that was a good one. So let's recap a few of those. We have layers for our clothes, the vernal equinox for the start of spring, daylight saving time for the clocks, and a nap when we're tired.
Perfect. And you know, we can't talk about March without mentioning the big history of the month. We touched on it earlier, but the Romans really did see March as a time of new beginnings.
Right, because the weather was finally warm enough for their armies to march out. I guess back then, new beginnings meant, well, going to war. Not exactly the same as my new beginning of trying to go to the gym more.
Thankfully, things have changed. For us today, a fresh start in March usually means something much more peaceful, like spring cleaning.
Oh man, my apartment definitely needs a fresh start. I think there are dust bunnies under my bed that are big enough to have names.
Dan, that's terrible. Spring cleaning is a very common phrase. It's when you clean your whole house very deeply to start the new season. You wash the windows, you organize the closets, you get rid of the winter smell.
I think I'll just open a window and call it a day.
Well, that's a start. We call that airing out the house. To air out means to let fresh air flow through a room. You could say, it's so mild today. I'm going to air out the living room.
Okay, I can do that. I can open a window. That's a fresh start I can handle.
So, Dan, while you're busy opening windows and airing out your apartment, there's one date in March you should probably be careful about. Have you ever heard the phrase, beware the Ides of March?
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like something from a spooky movie, right? But I'll be honest, Anna, I have no idea what an Ides is. Is it a type of bug?
No, not a bug. In the old Roman calendar, the Ides simply referred to the midpoint of the month, which for March was the 15th. But it became famous, or maybe infamous, because that's the day Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC. Now people use the phrase to talk about impending doom or something bad that might happen.
Whoa. So if I have a big meeting on March 15th, I can just tell my boss, sorry, I have to beware the Ides of March and stay in bed? Nice try, Dan, but I think your boss might prefer you celebrate a different March tradition instead, like Pi Day.
Now you're talking my language. Pi Day is March 14th, right? Because the date is 314, like the math constant 3.14159, so on. I'm a big fan of any holiday that involves eating actual delicious pie. Apple, cherry, blueberry, I'm not picky.
Well, it's a great way to make math more interesting. But we also have St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. That's the day everyone wears green, and in cities like Chicago, they even turn the whole river green.
Oh, I love the energy of St. Patrick's Day. Everyone seems so happy. Well, at least until Monday morning when they have a hangover. A hangover is that terrible feeling you get the day after you drink too much alcohol. You have a headache, you're tired. It's not fun.
Definitely not. But you know what else is happening right now? The world is literally turning green on its own. We've mentioned the flowers, but we should talk about the difference between to bloom and to blossom.
Wait, there's a difference? I thought they were the same.
They're very similar, and most people will understand you if you use either one. But generally, we use bloom for most flowers, like my daffodils. Blossom, on the other hand, is usually used for trees, especially fruit trees like cherry trees. You can say the cherry trees are blossoming with beautiful pink flowers.
Ah, okay. So flowers bloom in the garden and trees blossom in the park. That's a good tip. But Anna, as much as I love the blossoms, they don't always love me.
Oh no, don't tell me your nose is declaring war on you too.
Achoo!
It is. I have terrible hay fever. Hay fever is a very common allergy that happens in the spring because of pollen. Pollen is that tiny yellow dust that comes from flowers and trees. My eyes get red, my nose runs. I feel like my face is melting.
Face melting might be a bit dramatic, Dan, but I get it. It's very common to ask someone in March, is it a cold or is it hay fever?
It's definitely the pollen. But hey, let's try to stay positive. Let's do our second role play. This time, let's imagine we are at a park. I'm the one with the allergies, and you're trying to enjoy the nature.
Look at this, Dan. A perfect mild afternoon. The sun is out and there's a lovely breeze.
Yeah, it's great. The air feels so fresh.
Oh dear, is your hay fever acting up?
It's the pollen from those cherry trees. They're blossoming everywhere. It's beautiful, but my nose thinks it's an attack.
Well, look on the bright side. At least we have these bright spells. The sky was so gray earlier, but now we have 20 minutes of beautiful sunshine.
You're right. I'll just stay on this bench and turn my face to the sun like a sunflower. Oh wait, did you see that? A tiny green sprout is coming up through the dirt right next to my shoe.
Spring really is on the horizon, isn't it?
See, even with a runny nose, I can be poetic. You mentioned the word sprout there. That's a great one. A sprout is a tiny new plant just starting to grow out of the ground.
It is. And I also use the phrase on the horizon. When we say something's on the horizon, it means it's coming soon. You can almost see it arriving, like warmer weather is on the horizon.
I love that. It's so much more hopeful than bewaring the Ides. But we should also mention Earth Hour. That usually happens at the end of March.
Oh, right. Earth Hour is a worldwide event where people turn off their lights for 1 hour to show they care about the planet. It's another way March feels like a month of being mindful and starting fresh.
It really does. Whether it's spring cleaning, turning off the lights, or just snapping out of that bad mood or tired feeling. To snap out of something means to suddenly stop a bad mood or a tired feeling.
Exactly. Like, I need to snap out of my winter laziness and go for a walk.
Well, I think I'm officially snapped out of it. I'm feeling motivated, but we still have one more part to go, and I think we need to talk about some of the more unusual facts I found in the sources.
Oh, like the ones about the Swiss Army and the white sneakers?
Exactly. Okay, Anna, you mentioned the Swiss Army and white sneakers, but I have some March facts that are even weirder. Like, for example, did you know that on March 1st, 2007, the Swiss Army actually invaded Liechtenstein?
Wait, what? They invaded a whole country? Isn't Liechtenstein right next to Switzerland?
It is. That's the funny part. It was a total accident. About 170 infantrymen were on a training mission. The weather was bad, they got lost, and they just walked into the neighboring country. They didn't even realize they had invaded until they saw the signs.
Oh my goodness, that is the most March thing I've ever heard. Just a bunch of confused soldiers wandering through the fog. Did they have to fight?
No. They just explained the mistake, got directions from the locals, and headed home. No harm done. But it just shows you even professional soldiers can get confused by March weather.
I love that. And you mentioned another one, something about an astronaut.
Yes, on March 2nd, 2016, Scott Kelly, a NASA astronaut, returned to Earth after nearly a whole year in space. It set a record for the longest uninterrupted trip. Can you imagine? You leave in March and come back a whole year later, and the weather's still just as confusing.
He probably looked out the window of the space station and thought, wait, is it spring or winter down there? I'll just stay up here for another week. But we should also mention March Madness. For our listeners in the US, that's a huge deal.
Oh, the basketball tournament. Yeah, it's basically the most popular thing in March, but there's a really strange statistic about it. Apparently, the first week of March Madness sees a 50% increase in vasectomies.
Wait, really? Why on earth would that be?
Well, think about it. If you have that surgery, the doctor tells you that you must sit on the couch and rest for a few days. And what's on TV all day long during that specific week? Basketball.
That is brilliant. Sorry, honey, I can't do the spring cleaning. I'm recovering. Pass me the remote. Men are so clever.
We really are. But seriously, it's a month of major events. We've got International Women's Day on March 8th, which is a huge global celebration of the achievements of women. And we even have the anniversary of the invention of the telephone on March 7th.
It's true. March is it's packed. Even the board game Monopoly was invented in March back in 1933, and Twitter launched on March 21st, 2006. It's like everything important decided to happen right now.
I guess everyone was just trying to snap out of their bad mood and do something productive. But man, we have covered so much ground today. I think my brain is starting to feel like that muddy park we talked about.
Well, then, it's time for our quick recap. This is for everyone listening. Let's go through those keywords one more time so you can really lock them in.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
First, we had sunshine. That's the light and warmth from the sun. Then daffodils, those yellow flowers that show spring is coming.
Don't forget chilly. Not freezing, but cool enough that you want a jacket. And muddy, when the ground is wet and your white shoes get ruined.
We also talked about the weather being unpredictable, meaning you can't guess what will happen next, and mild, which is that perfect middle weather. Not too hot, not too cold.
We mentioned wearing layers, several pieces of clothing, and carrying a windbreaker, that light jacket that protects you from a gust of wind.
Then we had the equinox, when day and night are equal, and for the sleepy listeners, a nap, a short sleep to catch up after the clocks change.
We had the expression once in a blue moon for something very rare, and spring cleaning, which is that deep house cleaning we all mostly avoid.
To air out means to open the windows for fresh air, and beware the Ides of March is a warning about the 15th, the day Julius Caesar was assassinated.
We talked about Pie Day on the 14th, yum, pie, and a hangover, that bad feeling after a celebration.
Flowers bloom and trees blossom, but for some that means pollen and hay fever, the sneezing allergy.
We love those bright spells, those short moments of sun, and look for the sprouts, the tiny new plants growing.
Finally, if something's on the horizon, it's coming soon, and you can snap out of a bad mood to feel better.
Wow, 23 words and phrases. You guys are doing an amazing job, seriously. Even if you only remember 3 of these, you're winning.
Exactly. So before we go, we have one last question for you. What is the first sign of spring where you live? Is it the birds, the flowers, or just the fact that you finally put your heavy coat away?
Tell us in the comments. We love reading your stories, and it's the best way to practice your English.
It really is. Thank you so much for spending your tea time with us today. If you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It really helps our channel grow so we can keep making these episodes for you.
Stay warm or stay cool depending on where you are, and we'll see you in the next episode of English Over Tea.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.